Hey folks, you are watching Ethology Pro. Zimei is with you. Today we continue talking about different things and making illicit comparisons. This was a psychological trick from the era of fascist propaganda. It was very popular back then to compare someone to a cockroach or a worm, methods of dehumanization. But today is not about that. Today, we are comparing girlfriends and divorce initiators to viruses and other types of fauna. Some linguistic anthropologists believe that religion is a language virus that changes connections in the brain and blunts critical thinking. What I want to say is that in a sense, the manipulations of girlfriends and life coaches often resemble the tactics used by parasites like cordyceps or the rabies virus. In these biological examples, parasites and viruses use the host as a vehicle for their own survival and spread. They change the host's behavior to ensure their own reproduction at the host's expense. Take cordyceps, a fungus that parasitizes ants. It enters their bodies and infects the entire colony if the ant is not isolated in time. The ant begins to act insane. It climbs high onto a blade of grass, freezes there, and dies. Then the fungus erupts from its head and spreads spores to other ants. Manipulation techniques use the same approach. A manipulator changes the behavior of a person or a group so that they ultimately act in the interests of the manipulator. Just as cordyceps hijacks the brain, a manipulator occupies the psychological and emotional space of the victim. Look at the rabies virus. When it enters the nervous system, it causes aggressive behavior. But at the same time, it makes the infected seek contact with others, which spreads the virus. It even goes into funny details like hydrophobia. The virus forbids the victim from drinking. In this phase, saving the person is impossible. But while the victim is alive, the virus introduces new motivations into their consciousness that act against their own interests, but in the interests of the parasite. In human manipulation, the same thing happens. The manipulator injects new ideas and motivations that force the victim to act against their own welfare. In divorce cases, the manipulator might even simulate conflict or aggression to achieve their goal of control and profit. The ant does not realize it is being directed by a fungus. The human victim does not realize they are being directed by a parasite seeking dopamine, power, or money. This infection spreads through contact with the infected. A person who was manipulated learns the technique, adapts it, and begins to spread it as a behavioral model to everyone else, creating a network of dependency. Rust Cole in True Detective was absolutely right. Beliefs, religions, and patriotism are transmitted informationally and play the same role in society as the flu or COVID. One infected person becomes a source of problems for hundreds, sometimes making entire families dysfunctional. Now, let's look at the statistics. Who is the leader? Who is the hero of the day who has provoked the most divorces in the world? Let's have a drum roll. It is our unhappy single mothers, our abandoned, offended, lonely women with 1 or 2 children. These are the girlfriends who comfort you over drinks in the kitchen and suggest going to a cafe, just to sit and have coffee. And while you are at it, look at how many handsome men are around besides your own idiot husband. The motivation can be anything: envy, sincere hatred, or a desire to steal your husband. You can never know what is in another person's head. But you can be sure that the interests of a woman trying to build a family do not overlap with the interests of a woman who has been divorced 3 times. Their social circles and goals are simply different. Old girlfriends from university should be sent packing if they push you toward decisions that harm the family. These women encourage others to get divorced because it adds 1 more person to their clan. Or rather, 2. They are expanding their food base. When a divorced woman finds herself in a difficult situation, she may consciously or unconsciously destroy others' relationships to gain access to resources. A married friend often has the accumulated resources of generations. Naturally, she is better provided for with her husband's support than a divorced friend with unresolved issues and a collection of children from 4 different fathers. This is the classic Karpman drama triangle. If women used logic instead of emotion, they would run from these friends like the plague. But manipulators choose the most vulnerable and trusting victims, specifically the well-off ones. They aren't interested in losers like themselves because there is nothing to take from them. The theft of a husband and property is just pure robbery. In St. Petersburg, I saw a brilliant case. A female psychologist, following a friend's advice, systematically divorced a wife from her husband for a fee. Then she picked up the husband, married him herself, took the house and the assets, and then returned him to the ex-wife after he had suffered 2 strokes and was half paralyzed. That tells you everything you need to know about female friendship. Subcultures reproduce themselves. Wolves teach cubs. Physicists teach physicists. Who do divorced single mothers teach? You decide. I didn't invent this. It is just how the world works. Each social group copies its own scenario. You can never shield a woman from this influence completely. Even if you move to a farm and cut the internet, they will send a newspaper with the same ideas. Trying to guard someone is a meaningless task. If you want a person to stay, give them an understanding of the essence of these processes. Explaining the reality is your only insurance, if such a thing even exists in relationships. In practice, any girl from a village becomes a princess after a year in Moscow. The only thing that can stop a person from putting themselves on the sexual market is their own internal core and an understanding of the consequences. If that isn't there, then don't waste your time. As it says in the Gospel of Matthew, "Do not throw your pearls before swine, for they will trample them underfoot." Analysis shows that 70% of divorce cases involve people who have experienced a family breakdown themselves. A mother, a mother-in-law, a friend. I am not accusing them of evil intent. They are just offering the only solution they know. As Nietzsche said, man is a bridge, not a goal. We pass on what has passed through us. One active element starts a chain reaction. One divorcee in a neighborhood can do more damage than a juvenile delinquency commission. Some people look at the system of evaluation incorrectly. What is the point of a business tip that tells you why something cannot be done? I am not interested in why it is impossible. I want to know how to do it. If you want a divorce, find an advisor with 3 personal divorces. They know every loophole. But if your goal is to save the family, go to someone who has been married for 25 years and reached the stage of grandchildren. They can tell you how to make it work, not how to end it. Parasitism and manipulation are forms of exploitation. In social structures, they cause destruction because they violate ethical norms. This behavior is closest to that of confidence tricksters. They use the best human qualities to involve people in reckless things. It is like breaking a child's psyche by exploiting their ignorance. Remember your first cigarette. Someone gave it to you and said it was no big deal. Try it. It feels good. If it doesn't feel good, you just need to get used to it. The same thing happens to women. You already have a husband and a baby, but you haven't divorced yet? Why not? Everyone is doing it. It is normal. The euphoria passes, and then you realize the harm of smoking. They say getting a divorce can be more harmful than smoking. You would have been better off drinking. That is what these friends and coaches do. When you ask them how to save a family, they teach you how to divorce. Manipulation is psychological parasitism. The manipulator uses a person for their own gain at a very high price, often the price of that person's life. It is no different from cordyceps growing out of the corpse it just killed. I think I have made my position clear. You may disagree. That is your business. That is all for now. Zmei was with you. This is Ethology Pro. May your money be big and your common sense be sharp.